Welcome to We Question and Learn. This is Tom Pines. We're celebrating our 20th year on the air here at WQLN NPR. Very special guest today. We're really thrilled to have the Executive Director of Erie Events. And I have to say, this is Gus Pine. This is a real privilege to be able to speak with you today and talk about having a lot of real estate and a lot of facility on your hands. You just took over the job not long ago. Congratulations on that. Let's see, has it been about 9 months so far?
Yeah, just about 9 months. I started basically February 1st, and thank you, by the way, Tom, for having me on the air. I appreciate your time today.
Well, you are also, if I could add, the general manager of the Bayfront Convention Center, and that was not a short stint. That was over 6 years. So you're totally familiar with the area. You came from Lansing, Michigan? Did you mention that?
Yeah, I was previously in Lansing for about 12 years. I was at the convention center there. Very similar to the convention center setup that we have here in Erie.
Mm-hmm.
We had a hotel that was connected via Skybridge.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I actually had managed the hotel prior to that. So, and then I went over to the convention center. And so when I came here, I guess my background was unique in that it fit the model that we have here, because of course we operate both hotels here in Erie as part of our convention center complex, what we call Bayfront Landing.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really an easy transition, and I'm originally from Syracuse, New York area. My wife's from Massachusetts, so we're coming a little closer to be towards family where we grew up. So it was a great move. I was very happy in that role. When this one came available, I was blessed to get chosen, and it's been a great first 9 months.
Erie's been a good thing for you. Could you just, for half a second, when all this started, where were you sitting? What was your position, or did you come in after all the groundbreaking was done?
Are you speaking about
the convention center? Yeah, downtown, yeah.
Yeah, the convention center, just historically speaking, was built in 2007, and then I believe the Sheraton was completed in 2008, which really culminated a long, hard-fought battle to get convention opportunity here for Erie. That was before my time. I've been here about 7 years, so I came here at the end of 2016. So.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, and actually, when I came on board at the end of 2016, the Courtyard Hotel had just been built. So it was really nice for me because at that point you had a convention center fully built, 100,000 square feet of meeting space, and then attached to that you now had 400 potential hotel room nights, which really made us a big player in specifically for the state association market, which is when you're talking about conventions, that's the holy grail, so to speak, in any convention center.
Can you give us an outline of Erie Events? How does this whole thing work? Say for folks who are listening from out of town or folks who are here, would just like to understand better how this organization works.
Absolutely. Erie Events is essentially shorthand for the Erie County Convention Center Authority,
Mm-hmm.
and we're a governmental authority under Erie County,
Mm-hmm.
and we're overseen by an 11-member board of directors. 2 of those members are appointed by the state governor, 2 by the mayor of Erie, and then 1 each per county council member. And we are created to oversee currently the 6 properties that we manage. It's Erie Insurance Arena,
Mm-hmm.
UPMC Park, Warner Theater, and then, of course, the Bayfront Convention Center that we were talking about, along with the 2 hotels that are connected.
That's quite a process. How many employees do you have?
Well, we've got about 50 full-time employees, but at any given time, I think the last time I checked, we had 600 additional part-time employees.
Oh my gosh! And
So it depends on business activity. Of course, most of our activity is event-driven. So there are times when we go over that number, but it's a large organization for sure.
You have some great folks that I'm not sure how many are still there from the Warner. They've been there forever. You've got some great people working at these organizations.
We do, and actually, that was a blessing. Obviously, when I came in and took over for longtime director Casey Wells, I had been here 6 years, so I had a strong understanding of our organization. But and that was really one of the foundational pieces that I liked about taking the job, was that we have a lot of people who've got lots of years under their belts. You're speaking of the Warner Theater. Barry Koppel's been here at least 30 years. He's now running the operations for this facility for me. And I don't want to go through names because I would leave some people out, but we have a tremendous foundation here, which really made my transition pretty seamless.
Well, it's obvious it's done a wonder for the city and the county. Has there been any recent economic development measurement done?
Well, we do an annual economic impact, and there are numbers that are used nationwide to measure that. And just looking back, we actually released a community report about a month ago related to our 2022 impact, and that for 2022, that impact was about $90 million of direct spending into the community.
That's incredible. That's a wonderful number for our area. Congratulations on that. Now, is everything built to date? Is there anything in the near future or maybe far future that you're going to add to all these venues that you have?
Yeah, I guess I would start with what we call Bayfront Landing, which is our collection of bayfront properties, and there's several things that I'll be working on, actually currently working on, and then into next year and even beyond. We are in the process of getting construction estimates to build our market house, which will sit just south of the convention center, right along the Bayfront Parkway. Mm-hmm. We got some construction estimates originally. I believe that was pre-COVID, so we wanted to reach out to a couple companies. Obviously, pricing has changed. There's been some inflation that has happened, so we're re-estimating that project. It's my aspiration that we get started on that in 2024. That will be a key piece to, I don't want to say finish, but maybe a next step along the bay. There's also a parcel of property there that we have kept specifically to sell to a potential developer. Mm-hmm. We're in talks right now. That's what we call the old GAF site.
Yes.
I'm sure people from Erie are all too familiar with that area, but the objective will be to sell that to a developer that will either use that for retail or residential, or likely a mix of that and other things. But to be able to get some of that valuable property on the tax rolls for Erie, that was part of our plan from the beginning, and we're continuing along with that. And then lastly, there's a rental space, what I call 216 Bayfront, which is the address, and it's the part of the courtyard parking ramp, but it's the space right next to the Bay House restaurant, which overlooks the bay over there by the courtyard. And there's about, 3,200 square feet of really great real estate inside there. So we're looking for the right tenant for that spot, and we've had lots of offers, but we really think it needs to be something that relates to leisure and travel, and something that really accentuates what we're trying to do on the bay, and that's to try to get locals and tourists to intermingle and enjoy the bay. So I'm talking with a fantastic organization right now that we're about to sign a letter of intent, so I can't speak more to it on that, but I'm excited. It's a great fit, and that's been available for 8 years, so I'm really excited to get that rolling next year.
Is that big green space that was the old manufacturing plant?
No, it's adjacent to that. It's actually it's the empty leasable space inside the building that's next to the Bay House.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep. That green space you're alluding to, our plan there, because that's along the bay, our plan there is to leave that as open green space right along the bay. That'll maintain views. It's for people to enjoy. But the land that we're looking to sell will be just south of that, and it's kind of that L-shaped piece of I don't know, about 15 acres of property there.
I missed out on some of the stories. Access, how is that going? Is there going to be some, I'm sure there is going to be some renovation. How is that going to help the Bayfront, in your opinion?
You speaking about
The roadways, maybe some parking, some construction? I think you know more about it than I do.
Absolutely, and that's been it's become a problem caused by the success that we've seen down there at the convention center and at the hotel, along with the restaurant that is leasing the space there. Parking is becoming more and more scarce down there. The parking ramp, what we call the courtyard parking ramp, was always built structurally with the ability to accept 2 more levels. Yeah, so that will be something in the future that we'll need to look at to put 2 more levels. There's between 70 and 100 spots on each level, so that is certainly on the horizon. And then at some point we may look at needing to do a parking ramp on the current flat lot of the convention center, but that's probably a long way down the road. And I know certainly in my mind, if we're going to add a parking ramp down there, I certainly would want to make sure that that's designed in a way, quite honestly, to not look like a parking ramp, because you're right there on the bay. And so whether that's there's some great architectural elements out there that do a good job of hiding that. You can add landscape designs. You can wrap it in retail opportunities. So that's farther down the road, but I think as demand continues to grow for that convention center, I think that's going to be something we're going to need to start planning for.
As you look at facilities like this across the country, including ballparks, sometimes you don't even think it's a ballpark standing on the outside, and then all these opportunities for built-in retail, and I guess that would help in the colder weather, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You're right. The architecture, just the way people are making some of these old municipal buildings just look attractive, are just head and shoulders of what it used to be. But absolutely, I think we have to consider that, because we're a 4-season area, and when you're talking about Bayfront Landing, you're talking about a wide area of space, and you want people to be able to go from one to the other in a comfortable way. I know if you've been to Minneapolis, they've done a great job of doing it with raised connecting sky bridges, similar to the one we have going over to the Sheraton Hotel from the convention center. But absolutely, those would be consideration.
What's attractive is there's plenty of walking space. You don't feel encompassed, standing on the water side of the convention center, or even walking from one area to the other. That was well thought out, where there's open area. You don't feel compressed. You don't feel like it'll be lined up single file trying to get into some aspect of the facilities, one or the other. That planning has been well done. What are your other thoughts for, I'm going to go one step farther here. I noticed you have some amazing folks using the venue for the convention center, and I know it was specifically designed for multiple events. What kind of folks are you appealing to? It seems like we have usually some different types of groups that end up here because of the way the convention center was designed. Can you address that in some way?
Absolutely. Our bread and butter, and this is true for any convention center across the country, and it's why these facilities are built, and it's to improve the economics of your local community by bringing in conventions. You certainly can't fill your entire calendar with that, but for us, it's the state association market. So it's things like the County Commissioners Association of Pennsylvania, groups like that, the Art Education Association. There, you wouldn't believe, for every interest or every group out there, there's an association that advocates for and creates opportunities for networking and learning, and that is a very large part of what we're doing, and we're looking, our sales team at the convention center is looking years in advance. They're already almost done with booking 2024, and yeah, absolutely. Because these things are, these are large conventions, and they take time to book, and they often, kind of like the Super Bowl, they choose where they're going several years out in advance. So that's where meeting the mission of why that facility and the hotels was built. That's where the rubber hits the road. And then on top of that, there is a large need locally for large meeting space for groups like UPMC, Erie Insurance, large employers who need large gathering spaces to either train or provide networking or award ceremonies for their employees. That corporate segment is a critical piece for us. And then probably the other important segment of the business down at the convention center would be consumer and public shows, things like the Home and Garden Show, the Auto Show, Erie Comic-Con, the Women's Expo, those sort of things where those are really the ones where locals are able to go and enjoy these facilities that were built. Obviously, they weren't built specifically for that purpose, but it's a great place to kind of round out the pie chart of business that you have at a convention center.
Gus Pine, Executive Director, Erie Events. I've been in the building and noticed at least 4 big events going on at the same time, and everything seemed to be well managed. No one was crossing or stepping on each other's feet. That was part of the design?
It was. I think architecturally, I mean, I'm sure people in Erie know this, but if you stand to the east of the building, you can see it was designed in the shape of a ship, and so the building runs north to south, and there's 2 separate exhibit halls that can be broken into 2 separate, so you could have two very large events going on in each of those rooms, and then there's a ballroom as well, about 28,000 square feet, about 13,000 square feet, where that can also be divided into 2 rooms. So
let's talk a little bit about capacity. 2 big hotels, the Sheraton Erie Bayfront Hotel and the Courtyard Erie Bayfront. What's the capacity like?
More or less, there's 200 rooms at each hotel, and there's between all 3 properties, there's about 100,000 square feet of meeting space. So there's about 5 areas where you could have a wedding locally, 1 in each hotel. There's a couple of outdoor locations, and then of course the ballroom at the convention center. Very flexible space. Really a great size for our community to use, but also to be able to attract, like I said, state associations and even national associations. That becomes more of a challenge because we're not the easiest market to fly to, but we have been successful in getting some national events as well.
Could you talk about your marketing people now? You're booked all the way, let's just say 2024 and beyond. How does this happen? Do you get a lot of call-ins? Does your team have a procedure to deliver information to prospective folks who would like to have a great place to come? How does that work for you?
There's 2. I've always thought my philosophy has been that there's 2 main ways to attract business at a convention center. The first is repeat business, and that your marketing essentially with repeat business is doing an excellent job of taking care of your current customers. And then the second piece is referral. There's no more bona fide marketing out there than a current customer talking to somebody else who does the same thing that they do in terms of planning meetings. There is a trust level there that we can't match. So I always focus first and foremost on ensuring that the operation of your convention center and your hotels, quite honestly, because from a customer standpoint, they're buying one, they're buying both. That has to be top notch so that we're maximizing repeat business and we're maximizing referrals. Other than that, it's just old-fashioned salesmanship. We've got somebody that's dedicated to each market. So we've got somebody dedicated to corporate, somebody that's dedicated to associations, and they are shopping other facilities like ours, like-size markets, like-size properties, and we're looking to get in on rotations. There's state association market in particular is typically likes to rotate around the state so that they can get access to all their members, whether it's closer to Philadelphia or Pittsburgh or up here as well. So we try to get on rotations. But those are the main factors that come into play.
There's still some discussion in bigger cities on COVID, who comes to work, who stays home, come in sometime, don't come in at all. But how has that affected you in the last few years, and is it coming around?
Yeah, it's definitely different, although I would say that even at the beginning of this year, there was some lingering resistance within the meeting industry towards large gatherings, and I think it was just, cautiousness from meeting planners and wanting to be sensitive. Each person that is scheduled to attend, and sometimes an attendee at a meeting is essentially mandated through work to be there. So there was some caution there.
Mm-hmm.
I think that based on conversations that I'm having, that's essentially gone away. There are some lingering things from the pandemic, particularly looking for part-time and full-time staff. That continues to be a challenge. Part of it is that unemployment is really low right now, so just supply and demand, there's less people looking for work. The other piece is that our industry, the live events and meetings industry, was essentially shut down for almost 2 years.
Yes.
So many people were forced to leave the industry, and they've found other things to do. So that part-time and full-time staff continues to be a challenge. I know when we've filled some full-time positions this year, and I think at least twice we had offers into people, and they had signed offers with us, and then at the 11th hour were pulled back in by their current employer that either matched or greatly increased how much they were paying them. So very competitive out there for staffing. And then I guess the last item would be related to cost of goods fluctuations. That was a big challenge coming out, and people know from their grocery carts essentially, and we buy a lot of food at our facilities, as you can imagine, and the prices just went up and down on a roller coaster that didn't make a whole lot of sense. But at this point, that has leveled out. Of course, it's leveled out at a higher point. At least we don't have those big fluctuations, so that piece is kind of subsided.
With that, I know a lot of people are coming out looking for work. You may find that hard to believe at times, but if someone was interested, you have openings?
We do. We have a lot of part-time positions that are actually great, what I would call gig jobs. So if you're looking to supplement your income, we have some great opportunities. You can go to erieevents.com to see all those. We've got several in most of our facilities. Again, they're great for somebody who's got a 9-to-5 and wants to work events, because obviously events, they don't happen Monday through Friday 9 to 5. They're often like hockey games on the weekend, but
yeah,
our people are making, there's positions like our concession staff right now. We just pulled some numbers recently. They're making nearly $20 an hour with tips included. So it's a lucrative little gig job for a lot of people, and I would encourage people to sign up. We're always looking for good customer people.
Yeah, let's reiterate a couple. There's the Erie Insurance Arena, a lot of fun, right? The
That's
Convention Center, if you want to enhance your hospitality career or whatever. The Warner, which is, that's a joy to be in and at, as you know. And of course, what's more fun than UPMC Park? Just so people understand that these are all opportunities. It's a great starter job, right? Would you say that?
Absolutely would say that. It's actually where I started. I started on the food and beverage side of things many years ago, and if you're a people person, I honestly love to watch our guest service and basically our ushers interact with our customers. They're all people, and when you've got 5,000 people coming through for a hockey game, you need people who are smiling and engaging and enjoy being around other people, and it's great to see. But it's a great starter job. There's many people within our organization that have done those jobs and been happy to stay there. There's many others who've taken advantage of promotional opportunities as other people move on or as we add full-time roles. Those are great opportunities.
Can't beat that for a starter job. When I look back, my starter job was $1.25 an hour. Of course, with inflation, but you did have to raise your payroll costs because, it's hard to get people, right? You're trying to attract good people.
It is. We're in a lot of competition for part-timers, and I think the the pay overall has settled higher. And I think one of the things that we have that others don't is, like you said, it's the environment around live events is just something very unique, whether it's the Philharmonic or a concert at the Warner or an Erie Otters hockey game or a wedding at the convention center. Those environments are unique and they're really special, and it's a nice industry to be around.
Well,
sure.
I can't think of a better industry with all these venues to be invested in our community to support our folks, our local folks. But you also, on the unusual side, as this airs early November, a few weeks ago you had the Strongman Corporation National Championships.
For sure, the Strongman competition, but
yeah.
We had the Button Society.
Really?
There is, for every hobby, there is a group of passionate people that will meet and get together, and it's you wouldn't believe how there's License Plate Collectors Association, that there's just so many out there, and it's really neat to see people gather and as they things that you never thought even existed, and how people have a passion for it. It's really neat to see.
Well, then let's remind some of the local organizations with different interests. Hey, this might be a great venue for next year or the year after. Hope they think about you and consider you. Well,
absolutely.
Yeah. Any other thoughts? We already talked a little bit about your forward thinking relative to real estate and development. Anything else that comes to mind that you would want the community to know about? Or is it let's just do this the right way as best we can and continue on with a great success story? What are your thoughts?
Well, if you give me the soapbox, I think the one item that I would want to share with your listeners is related to the purchasing of tickets for events, because there's this has become a widespread issue within the live entertainment industry, and that's the selling of tickets on third-party sites. Something that we fight against all the time. So, for instance, we have Bob Dylan on sale right now. He's coming to the Warner on the 23rd of October. If you were to search for tickets, you will likely see on your web browser sites that are not related to Erie Events. And so what you're going to end up getting routed to would be a company that has purchased tickets from us and is now selling those tickets for a premium.
Oh, that's not scalping. I'm sure it's legal, but boy, it comes close to some degree, doesn't it?
It does, and there is one instance where it's understandable, and that's if a show is sold out, then you can't come to us to buy tickets. So the only way you could buy tickets for a sold-out show would be to connect with somebody who can't go or is looking to sell their tickets. But by and large, our shows, many of them come close, but most of them don't sold out. Of course, my one example, Bob Dylan, is a sellout, as you can imagine. But the way to get the best price on tickets for anything at Erie Insurance Arena or at the Warner Theater is to go to erieevents.com, buy directly from us. You will. There's horror stories of people who've been ripped off, and the other piece is once they buy it from another source, we don't have a business relationship related to that ticket, so we don't have their name in our system, so we can't really help them because we don't have them in our system as a ticket buyer. It's a big problem across the country, and hopefully technology will be used to fix that someday, but the best thing I can do right now is to tell people to go directly to us to purchase those tickets and to avoid any issues.
Great advice. Gus Pine, we run out of time, but as the executive director of this fantastic Erie Events facilities, thank you for taking a little time out of your busy day to chat with us, and we're going to call you again into next year and see what it looks like for next summer, if that's okay with you.
I look forward to it, Tom. I appreciate your time as well.
Thank you. Welcome to We Question and Learn. We're celebrating our 20th year here on the air on WQLN NPR, FM 91.3. We always have special guests, and today we're going a little far afield, so to speak. I have Dr. Dalene Duvenage, and Doctor, I'm begging your forgiveness if I mispronounce your name in any way, shape, or form. I hope I said it correctly.
You're actually very, very close, Tom. In Afrikaans, my home language, we say Duvenage. But of course, in the US, in English, we say Duvenage. We franchise the Duvenage, yes.
So the correct way would be Duvenage?
Duvenage with a real capital yes.
Oh well, now you're sounding like you're from my ancestry part of the world, which is Ukraine. You know, where you get that little extra. Well, we'll keep it simple for the audience. Thank you so much for taking time. I was so excited because Dr. Lindy Smart suggested you as a guest, and I understand that you worked for 3 years in the intelligence security risk environment in South Africa, which is right now part of your career because you're at the Mercyhurst Intelligence Studies Arena at Mercyhurst University. And how long have you been there?
So here at Mercyhurst, literally from January last year. Yes, after a very blessed career of about 35 years in intelligence and in both national security and the law enforcement and private sector within South Africa, I at long last received my doctoral degree and decided to come into full-time academia. And I'm blessed to be here at Mercyhurst. I have a long history with Mercyhurst, actually. I attended a conference back in the day in 2000, still with Bob Heibel, that started the Intelligence Studies program here at Mercyhurst. Remember, Mercyhurst was the first university worldwide 30 years ago to start an Intelligence Studies program. So when I went through all my experiences in South Africa, then got my doctorate, and the position was advertised, I jumped at the opportunity, and I'm so lucky to be here. Wonderful universities. The students are fantastic. They are just so eager to learn, and really top quality candidates for the intelligence community, not only here in the US but worldwide. We are, me personally, focus more on crime intelligence and especially the private sector. Now intelligence can be applied within the private sector broadly speaking. So that is my emphasis here at Mercyhurst, Tom.
I've known Bob Heibel for years. He was one of our first guests. He came on recently, and Dr. Lindy Smart was on as well, and now we're honored to have you here.
Thank you.
You have a long career in this industry. How did you start out? What got you interested in this arena as a career for you?
I think like many of us in the intelligence industry, we actually got here by accident. I studied political science and international relations back at the University of Pretoria in South Africa, and I was then recruited into our equivalent of your CIA. I worked there as a political risk intelligence analyst for nearly 10 years on African countries. Fantastic times. That was the time I'm going to show my age now, but when Namibia got its independence, when the Horn of Africa erupted in the Somalia war, when Burundi and Rwanda went into war. So I was really privileged to work in a very volatile environment. Also, of course, when the Berlin Wall fell, and that changed the intelligence picture for us totally. After that, I went into training intelligence analysts at our intelligence academy, and had great fun there. Created a few qualifications in intelligence for our community there, and then I resigned and went into private sector. I started my own training company. And with a few of my associates, we traveled all over Africa and provided intelligence-related training to police agencies, to the intelligence community, to the private sector. And then back in 2013, I was recruited into our Federal Reserve Bank to set up an intelligence unit. And so I stayed there for nearly 9 years before I then came over here to the US to be in academia full time.
Now, my next question may be a little unusual. Is there a book? Do you have a book working with all this great history?
No, goodness me. No, never thought about that. I mean, there's actually such a lot that can be said. I'm just one example of many of my colleagues throughout the Intel world in all the different countries that have magnificent, meaningful careers within the intelligence community. And we are now currently doing this within the private sector. So, as I told you, the private sector is quite a passion of mine, and specifically the way in which intelligence can help decision makers within the private sector to what I say intelligence is first and foremost providing decision makers with insight on exactly why things are happening, how they're happening, who is doing the bad stuff or the good stuff, and then also to provide foresight to what might be happening in the near future and in the distant future with a company or then a country or an intelligence problem. So that is a lot of us in the private sector now doing the same thing that we've done in the intelligence community, just on a broader and I would say more impactful way in terms of ensuring that companies, people, their processes, their information and their products remain safe. So for the US listeners, we have intelligence analysts now working in companies within the pharma industry, Starbucks, Target, Dick's, any place you can think about has now what we prefer to call security risk analysts and people that are specialists in trying to understand, for instance, the supply chain. I don't know whether you've seen, Tom, that the Fortune 100 companies now in a recent survey said that the geostrategic tensions throughout the world is their number one priority. And they need expert people to tell them exactly, for instance, how the Ukraine or even the Israel war will impact on their bottom line or in their supply chain. We need to know, for instance, the situation with regard to China and Taiwan, etc. How is that going to impact on our strategic supplies and the way in which companies also then provide a living to the people that work for them throughout the supply chain.
How do you compare South Africa to the United States? That's a very wide question. Forgive me for making it so difficult, but what are your thoughts relative to how life is, how business, how intelligence is in South Africa compared to how we deal with it here?
First disclaimer, of course, it's very subjective what I'm going to share now.
Mm-hmm.
I think first and foremost, the American people should really appreciate the fact that you are, at least for now, living in a democracy where there are checks and balances with intelligence, that there are sufficient oversight. Unfortunately, back home, our political situation has creep more in terms, more towards authoritarian type of use of intelligence. And that for me is very sad to know that there are professionals that do not have a political affiliation. And I must stress this, in all democracies, this is the foundation of intelligence professionalism, and that is that you are not there to serve a specific political party or an agenda. You're there literally just to ensure the safety of the community, of the country, or of the company itself that you're working for. So for me, that's the biggest difference, and I really hope that the Americans make sure that democracy survives in the U.S. The second thing, of course, for me is the definite four seasons. Back home, we literally, especially here in Erie, with the snow. Yep.
It
Back home
snows.
we have these two very long seasons. It's either hot or less hot, you know. So for me, last January when I came was quite snowy, and
Yeah.
I sent all these photos of me in the snow, and back home to my support group. So that for me is also. I love the fall. I adore the different colors of the falling leaves. It's really wonderful. The other thing, of course, that for me is quite new to and strange to get used to is all this interest and the buying frenzy of getting Halloween stuff and getting Christmas stuff. A lot of money is spent on things that would have been frivolous for us back home.
Yeah.
The other thing is I miss my barbecue. In Afrikaans we say my braai, we make our barbecue is sort of like a religion back home.
Yes.
And the main reason might be that because of our nice weather we can literally braai every day. So I miss my husband's mutton chops and our spare ribs and our boerewors. That is sort of like your Italian sausage here in the U.S. But yeah, so those are, I think, from a subjective perspective, the main differences. In intelligence, I think this is the message that I want to get across with me as an international person in the U.S. is that intelligence is universal. The need to know. The need for us to understand what's going on in the world is universal. And Tom, just to give you an indication of how I bring in the international perspective into my classes is usually this time of the semester we have connect with an expert sessions where I introduce and let the students personally talk to different experts about the topics that they are researching. Now, within crime intelligence, the students divide into teams of two, and they have to then research and analyze a typical crime intelligence problem. And they have worked on or currently working on topics, for instance, internet crimes against children, insider threats in the U.S. military, weapons trafficking from the U.S. to Mexico, money laundering, Russian espionage, the Lazarus Group cybercrime, rhino warning trafficking, child trafficking, the Sinaloa cartel, etc. So what I then do is let them connect with the experts from those, that are experts in that specific field. So just this last week, we had people from 6 different countries talking with the students about their topics. And, of course, from here in the U.S., from agencies like the DEA, the FBI, state and local police, FinCEN, other universities, former CIA agents, risk consultants within the private sector, people that are back home in South Africa, a company that is doing undercover work, for instance, in the rhino poaching environment. And this kind of exposure is extremely important for our students.
As you talk with the students here, how do they differ from the students that you are familiar with, say, in South Africa?
Oh, they are much more committed. The students, and I think this is what makes intelligence studies such a worthwhile study to go, environment to go and study in. It's that the students that come here have already been. I don't want to, sound too contrite when I say this, but they have been called to contribute a meaningful role to society. So they come here, they know exactly what they want to be in life. They literally, freshmen coming here, I want to work for the FBI, I want to work for the CIA, I want to work for, for the police. And what's wonderful about them is that they literally are then so focused on achieving their degree as soon as possible and with as much practical experience as possible. So remember, we're an applied intelligence program. So within the liberal arts context, all the other courses that they run, for instance, criminal justice or political science, international relations or whatever, they can then literally come and apply those theories within the applied learning and team project learning that we do here at Mercyhurst. So they get access to, as I said, the experts, but they also are able to do internships in the different fields. Just to share some examples, some of my crime intelligence students have already interned and is currently interning at the FBI, at the DEA, at state police, at the National Guard, border security, and of course in the private companies as well. So they get credit for those internships. And by the time they graduate, they are literally on the same applied and knowledge level that you would have when you are a second year or third year entry professional in an organization. So our graduates are really sought after because they know about stuff. They already know how to do intelligence. We always say here at Mercyhurst that what we provide them with is the operating system. Like Microsoft, but the operating system, they can literally take any problem that they have to try and solve or a situation that they need to analyze, and we provide them with the tools and techniques and the thinking skills to do that effectively as soon as possible as they get into the job market.
I wish they had this for my class of 73. This is also new, the concept of, and if you could help me a bit with this, there are huge databases, huge volumes of information that you analyze and teach your students how to use. What type of courses, as we're talking about that, what type of courses are you teaching now?
So I'm teaching crime intelligence. I'm teaching analytical tools and techniques, as well as we are going to start analyst notebook teaching in the spring. I'm also teaching leadership in intelligence for the master students, and those are my specialism areas.
If you see someone sneaking in, sitting in the back row, it's me. This is a very fascinating arena.
You're welcome.
Well, thank you. I'm so glad.
You're welcome.
Dr. Smart said I was able to do that as long as I wasn't disrupting the class. But as you go along and you're working diligently at Mercyhurst University, teaching students these topics, where do you see all this going? And I'm going to lead you into a pointed question relative to AI. Is this any part of your studies? Is this something that may in the future become integrated with what you do?
Oh, definitely. Actually, I already do that. So we as teachers have to embrace AI and the good side of AI. For us specifically in analysis is AI can assist us with so many grunt work, the grunt stuff that we do, trying to get through the information, sifting through the information. So I would be able to help with those administrative kind of work that we do. But I will never replace a thinking individual that are critically looking at the data, seeing connections, and then visualize it as well as present it in such a manner that is tailored for the specific decision maker that you are doing this. So just to give you an example, how I've already introduced AI. So I would, in the class, would tell them go to Board or go to ChatGPT and see what it says about a topic, for instance, fentanyl trafficking from Mexico to Pennsylvania. And they would go there and they would literally see, what is happening. And then we use that to brainstorm and look at the way in which we can then go and search further into the databases and to, specific cases. So we have found here, especially with intelligence-related stuff, AI helps the students in that brainstorming period before they start thinking and writing about a topic. And of course, then critically for us is it is extremely important that people are able to evaluate the information, that they can see, what is disinformation and what is misinformation, what is literally those half-truths that seep into programs like ChatGPT, because as you would know, AI literally just goes and slurps all the information from the internet, and then, it can be garbage in, garbage out.
Mm-hmm.
So we teach the analysts or the students to be extremely mindful of people or even AI's agenda and the biases. Remember, because we think for a living, I think that's the motto for intelligence professionals. We think for a living. We really need them to in depth look at, how do we think, what is our biases as well as that of AI, and trying to counter that with different analytical techniques that we then teach them.
You teach many things about advanced law enforcement, crime intelligence.
That's right.
What is your opinion of the American legal system? I'm sure you talk to many lawyers. Can we get an opinion? Is that okay with you?
An opinion, yes, as long as it only stays.
Absolutely. You're not committed in any way. This is we're just trying to give the audience some thoughts. What's different from South Africa compared to the United States?
Yeah. So remember, South Africa is an old British colony. So we are our legal system is definitely much more independent than the one here in the U.S. I'm literally now talking about the judges that are elected on party lines. I just don't get that,
Yeah.
For me, the legal system must really be totally independent. So I'm used to judges really having, going through all the legal schools, really experts in their field, well published, etc. So that for me is something strange to get used to on that political level. But in terms of, yes.
No, I'm sorry. Let me ask. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but you just brought up so the judges in South Africa are collegiate, highly educated. They have to have several degrees. Ours are elected.
That's right.
Many of our judges are very smart, have many degrees. But would you say that's a major difference then?
So, of course, not the degrees. For me, I think it's literally just the political independence.
Oh, okay.
That's the main difference. For
Okay,
me.
Thank you. Yeah. In other words, political parties have nothing to do with the way the legal system works in South Africa. This is purely for the service of the community and
That's right.
to help the country.
That's right.
What's your favorite topic to teach?
Oh my goodness, there are so many. I think the ones that I can, the ones that I can share some war stories, stuff that I experienced, and because of my varied background, I can talk right from when the Berlin Wall fell, or when I was still an analyst on Kenya and Uganda and Mozambique, stuff that happened to me and my sources, but then also within the law enforcement environment. So intelligence in Africa is, I don't want to say new, but intelligence professionalism is new. So I've just finished a book chapter on intelligence professionalism, or how to professionalize intelligence in Africa. And the conclusion I came to was that, it is really still difficult to professionalize the people that are supposedly there for the benefit of the rulers. So a lot of scholars have already written about how intelligence serves the ruling party in Africa, or then, whoever holds the power. And of course, then usually what happens is the people that holds the power in all countries, not only in Africa, would install people within the intelligence environment that they trust. And of course, then it goes all about ensuring that these people have money, that they have, a job to feed their children, etc. So then the intelligence community becomes a serving structure of the ruling party. So it's very then difficult to professionalize these people, because no ruler really wants people that would differ from him or her in terms of their agenda or what is going on in a country or with a specific issue. So it's difficult to professionalize in countries that are not democracies. So that was my conclusion, is that intelligence can only be professionalized, meaning people that are independent, that are skilled and degreed in conducting intelligence in a democracy, where it doesn't matter who is ruling, but the people that are ensuring the safety and security of a country or of a county or a city knows exactly what they are doing, and they can do their job with any fear or favor.
Without a doubt, South Africa has to be one of the most beautiful countries in the world. I have not gone there. I looked up South Africa, ironically, about a week before I knew you were going to be available to speak. Mm-hmm. Oh, it'd be so hard to leave there. It's so beautiful.
It is. So yes, I still love South Africa. I'm a Safa in my genes. But the interesting thing, especially about the Afrikaner people in South Africa, is we've always been trackers. We've always went to places where we haven't been before. So I'm a kind of person that like to explore new things, explore new cultures. I've always loved to travel with my husband and my kids. This is just the next phase in my life. I truly believe that I was called to be here. Who knows where next, if there is a next. So I really love being here in Erie and at Mercius, and purposefully help the students embrace who they are, and help them to become the best versions of intelligence professionals they can be. So that's my calling right now. Mm-hmm. I don't want to think too much about the future, but yes, South Africa is a great country. We have the world in one country. So from your Miami-like kind of humid seashores right to Cape Town, who looks a bit like the Mediterranean, to a desert that looks a bit like Arizona, right then up to the north where it's a bit more tropical and savanna. So yes, by all means, I would love to see as many as possible Americans go and visit South Africa. It is a beautiful country. We have fantastic people, really so welcoming and pure, and we still believe in the South African miracle, although the miracle has has dimmed the lit a little bit in terms of our power and electricity issues and etc. But South Africa is still my country that I love, and my family is still there. So, but I'm grateful to be here in Erie at Mercius.
Dr. Dalene Duvenage, American pronunciation. I will let you give me another phonics lesson as we sign off. Thank you so much. It's been so refreshing to hear your point of view and to hear about what you think about our university system and about South Africa. We were really grateful for this half hour. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Tom. Thanks for the opportunity, and God bless.